Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, please email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me for pricing. My email is tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're talking about one of my favorite chronographs in my favorite form. This is the Patek Philippe 5070J-001, the yellow gold debut model for the 5070 line. It launched at Basel World 1998. It was built through 2002, and about 250 watches per year were manufactured in yellow gold. So you get a sense of just how many of these exist in the wild. It's very few. Now, when it debuted at Basel in 1998, the idea of a 42mm dress watch was, even at the time, considered ambitious. If you wanted to wear something much larger than this and still wear a mechanical watch in 1998, you were probably looking at a Panerai Luminor. This was a giant by the standards of its day. Also important to remember, the contemporary 3970 perpetual calendar chronograph was just over 36 millimeters in diameter, giving you a sense of how 42 millimeters would have registered at the time. We'll talk about where the design comes from in a moment, but let's talk about those dimensions. It's 42 millimeters in diameter, but it's a svelte 11.6 millimeters thickened from lug tip to lug tip, 48.5 millimeters with a nice broad 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Patek Philippe designers recognized that broad lug spacings were going to be one of the design hallmarks of 21st century watches. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it wears quite nicely. I'm pulling the strap down a little tight, exaggerating the size of the watch a bit. I actually have a little bit of clearance on each side. I believe you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference because though it is large, it's not broad from lug to lug. You can see one more time down the barrel. The design of the watch was inspired by the 1950s reference 2512 split-second chronograph, and that's where almost all of this imagery comes from. That was a rather aviation-inspired instrument. So here we have an aviation-inspired strap. It is black calfskin with a contrasting stitch, as you would find on a pilot's watch. We have calfskin on the bottom. You can see no crimping, no gouging. It is a brand new Patek Philippe factory strap. You can also appreciate that we have a full deploying clasp. Now, I've seen these on pin buckles, and I've seen them on folding clasps. The folding clasp is definitely the way to get it, as you have more precious metal, which is always nice, but also more security against dropping your watch. Calatrava cross, the symbol of the brand. You'll see it on the buckle, you'll see it on the strap, you'll see it on the crown. Taking a look at the lugs, you can see that they've been sparsely refinished through their existence. You always look at the lug fluting on these to judge condition, and these are good. I'd say these lugs are an 8 out of 10. They still have a strongly defined bevel or fluted profile at each corner, and you can see the lugs are nice, full, and symmetrical from side to side and end to end. If the lugs are an 8 out of 10, the case is a 10 out of 10. As you can see, the step of the case flank, as well as the edge of the bezel lip, remarkably sharp, just as good as the day they left Geneva. The watch has a full high polish aesthetic, with the lugs broken out from the case band, so they're visually separate. We have vintage-inspired rectangular pushers, and then we have a pagoda-like stacked, multiply stepped bezel. And that bezel, along with the concentric scales of the dial, helping to disguise the disparity between the size of the Lemania 2310-based movement and the 42mm case, and it works effectively. It's an imperfect watch, but beautiful for that imperfection. You can see that the scale-out board is for reading minutes, chronograph seconds, and fractions of seconds. Then there's a tachymeter inboard of that can be used with the chronograph to gauge the speed of an object, such as a car over a kilometer. The printing is yellow gold style on a matte black, and then we have applique yellow gold numerals. We have yellow gold hands at center, including a counterweighted Lancet-style chronograph seconds hand, beating away at 18,000 vibrations per hour. We have leaf-style hands or feuille hands for hours, minutes, as well as sub-registers. If you take a quick look at the minute register, you can see that this watch features semi-instantaneous jumping minutes. You'll see the minute jumper on the reverse side in just a moment, but I thought that was important to point out. It's a nice refinement that people like to see. Screwed in case back, but 30 meters water resistant, so don't take it swimming. What we have here is the 24-jewel Lemania 2310, which in another form, as the Omega 321, went to the moon. But this movement right here is haute horlogerie. It is considerably upgraded from the Lemania base, both technically and aesthetically. It has a manual wind power reserve of 60 hours. It has a free-sprung Gyromax-style balance with an overcoil hairspring, the Gyromax allowing for precise adjustment in 6 positions, as well as durability against shock. The overcoil giving that big, slow-beating balance, the ability to operate regularly in any position, as the mass of a overcoil is more centered than a flat hairspring, so there's less gaining and losing of time in different positions. Here we have, you can see, a lateral clutch and a column wheel. You can see the lateral clutch easily. What you can't quite see is the column wheel because it's capped. This is an old school technique used to prevent the horns of the chronograph levers and the clutch from jumping out of the crenellated columns under conditions of shock. Over the years, it's become a canvas for customization and decoration. You can see here we have both solarization around, and then inside we have a black polished screw. All screw heads are black polished. Their slots and circumference are chamfered. Again, this is beaten away at 2.5 hertz or 18,000 vibrations per hour. The column wheel feel is world class, and it is a significantly upgraded movement featuring Geneva hallmark finish, which means everything from the steel components of the chronograph to the bridges of the basic movement have been highly decorated. There are Côte de Genève across the bridges. You can see the chronograph bridge features a sharp inward angle, and then another, and that's just one bridge. We have mirrored anglage on bridges and chronograph components. The steel chronograph components are satinated across their top. There's some engine turning on the base plate, but it's a sign of the attention to detail paid to this watch. You can see even the bridge for the escapement lever has been extravagantly finished. We have satination on all of the wheels, and this is a beautifully decorated movement that rewards examination with a loop. It is quite simply as good gets. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.